favor? That's carried. And just one set of the minutes to adopt from previous council meeting. And just ask for a motion to adopt the minutes. Councillor Longman, second. Councillor Sanjenko, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we have one delegation with a presentation this evening. I'm going to take a stab at pronouncing your last name, and correct me if it's wrong, but I would say Feuerhound, is that correct? Okay.
What is it, so we can know?
It's Feuerhound.
Feuerhound.
Or Feuerhound. Thank you for having me this evening.
Yeah, welcome.
So, I am the operator and the safety manager for Pacific Ferries, which is a 46 passenger ferry for Horseshoe Bay to Gibsons landing. And I would like to tell you a little bit about what we do. We were established in 2015 to identify a greater need for the public transportation between the Sunshine Coast and the Lower Mainland. We want to be community-minded and eco-friendly, which is one of the reasons why we picked Gibsons Landing over other docks and other islands, or other areas of the Sunshine Coast. All of our staff is fully trained and courteous, and we have a really strong and sturdy vessel, which is important when you're trying to dodge logs and house down. I guess I would be the fearless leader who is on every transport across. And much like Gibsons, I grew up in a town in Alberta with 3,500 people. My family was entrepreneurial based, which is where I get my tenacity. And I started my first business when I was 18 years old. I've been educated in broadcasting, screenwriting, and business, and I was the first person in Western Canada to own and operate an open-dimensional transport permit company. I also helped rebuild 4 universities in doing that after Hurricane Katrina. So I understand storms. I spent 4 years in that aspect of my life, and I specialized in safety. I mean, if you're traveling with something that's over-dimensional across the highway, you need to make sure that you understand how not to hit a bridge. And I work very closely with government agencies to make sure that that didn't happen. I have a Class 1 driver's license. Don't let my chesticles fool you. I can drive a big rig. Sorry, guys. It's funny because you tell jokes all your life, and then all of a sudden you tell one in town council, and everybody looks at you like, is that supposed to be funny? I have operational first aid level 2, first aid and CPR. I also have all my meds, my marine emergency conservation through Carnival Cruise Lines, which was, I worked for them as an entertainment host as well. I believe in customer service, and I believe in crowd control. I haven't got to the joking part yet. I also passed, when I went to state, I was the top 5 of 500 applicants, and I was the only ever first year to ever interview a major political party leader. That was Stephen Harper. I'm sorry about that now, but it was really good for my grades. And I also graduated UCLA for screenwriting with distinction. I'm a shenanigator, which means I instigate a lot of shenanigans, and if you've ever come on board, you'll see exactly what I do. Everything from the seats on board, I can make fun of them. Like I'll say, welcome aboard Pacific Ferries. Southwest Airlines was having a seat sale. We took them literally, and we took their seats. You'll notice we do have airline seats on board, which is safer and more comfortable for most of our passengers. I was pretty funny back in the day. I opened for Elvira Kurt to over 800 people. I do documentary film. I raise a lot of money for for other causes. And when I worked in Alberta, I worked for the largest catering company in Canada, and we held the Guinness Book of World Records for serving the most amount of people in a sit-down meal, which was 26,000 people. I think that pretty much is everybody on the Sunshine Coast, right? Yeah, okay. So I served all of them all at once in a sit-down meal, which takes a lot of organization. In my time there, I served Gretchen, Clinton, the Beach Boys of the Hood, Chris Hatfield, a whole bunch of other people. I believe in humanitarianism. I'm a conservationist. I'm an hacktivist, which means I will find an easy way, but the right way to do something. I'm a rebel, which means I don't always follow the rules, but I try to. And I'm a mother. Just a little bit about our staff. We're all safety trained and we're all safety conscious. It's the number one thing. If you're the captain of our boat and you don't think it's safe to go, we don't go. because safety is their number one concern. I understand you have a family to get home to, so my concern first and foremost is getting home to my family and everybody on board. Everybody's familiar with the equipment. We're also very familiar with the area, and we're helpful, knowledgeable, and courteous to everybody that gets on board, which means we will take your bike, we will help you on board and give you a hand. We will go that extra mile because we honestly believe that service is essential. Captain Lindsay is sitting at the back of the room, if you'd like to stand up. He didn't know I was going to call him in. These are also the things that he's trained in. Simulated electronic navigation, small vessel operations, marine and basic first aid CPR. He's a scuba diver, so if we need him to go under the boat, he will, but he hasn't had to yet. He also has a 60-ton master certificate, radio operations, and marine emergency duties, and he has previous experience with water taxis and grizzly bear tours. Captain Mike actually comes from the Coast Guard, and he's away on leave right now because he's up in the Charlottes, so I couldn't ask him about all of his certificates, but I do know that he is very well trained, and he is with the Coast Guard right now, and he started his career deep sea hauling cows in Argentina. And he's gone from there to work on tugboats, and he's still active with the Coast Guard, but he comes back to help us and teach and train and make us do lots and lots of drills, which is lots and lots of fun, and it's when it's raining. Just a little bit about our vessel. It was originally built in 1981, and it does have airline seating, like I mentioned. We rebuilt it in 2008 with 3 280 horsepower Yanmar diesel engines, so she goes fast. She goes about 32 knots across the Howe Sound, and we can get here in about 25 minutes, which makes it a courteous service for people who have children and want to get home faster. It was most recently operated in 2011 by a logging company in Port Hardy, and completely recertified in 2015 by Transport Canada. And yes, I will quash all rumors that it is the sister ship of the Leviathan II, which tragically sunk off the coast of Plover Reefs in Vancouver Island this past October. I'd like to draw your attention to our sister who is now on the screen. I wasn't going to use this pointer, but I just found a reason. You'll notice this ship has been completely rebuilt and has a second deck. It was also in the Pacific Ocean. It was also on a different route, and it had been operated like this for over 20 years before a rogue wave came and tragically sunk it and killed 6 people. It's not the same boat that is going through Howe Sound, and I'd like to make that absolutely clear, but we understand that people are concerned and think, oh, this is a sister ship, what if it sinks? So I think I've just put that to bed. I'd like to keep it in bed, because I'm kind of frustrated with that rumor. So here's some of the things that make us different. In 1955, you notice that the Blackball Ferry schedule had 7 runs. 61 years later, BC Ferries offers 8 runs. The Blackball Ferry schedule, their last run from Horseshoe Bay was at 11:25 p.m. Their last run is 9:15? Okay, so 61 years has gone by and everybody went to bed earlier? Like, what's going on here? Okay, so this is one of the things that frustrates me. The population of the Sunshine Coast has doubled since 1980 to 2006. How do I know that? I read it in a BC Ferry study. So they're aware of this information, but nobody's helping you guys. And that's where I get really frustrated, because if I lived here, and I would love to live here, how would I get to work every day? You know, some of us can work here and we can keep that economy going, but sooner or later we have to bring in infrastructure. And I understand infrastructure is hard, because I used to deal with it every day. But there's a difference between soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure. And hard infrastructure is large physical networks necessary to function a modern industrial nation. And what I mean by that is roads, highways, ferry systems, stuff like that. Soft infrastructure is people like you guys, emergency services, social services, and stuff that's built to help the people. But in order to move the people, we have to have these hard infrastructure problems resolved. And we cannot progress economies without moving these people, right? And that's why I want to help you guys. That's one of the biggest things. So Horseshoe Bay has this amazing infrastructure. They have all these buses that come there just to service those 3 ferries that go there. So we can use that already established infrastructure that they've already thought out, and we can shove this ferry down there and drop these people off and help them get to work and save them 3 hours off their daily commute. I did the math. A 4-hour commute every day for 5 days a week for 50 weeks over 25 years is 1,041 days out of your life. Divide that by 365 and you come up to just under 3 years of your life at 24 hours a day. That's a prison sentence. So I don't understand why you guys get to live in the most beautiful place in the world, but you're landlocked and stuck being held very hostage. It's not fair. But what about those people who want to get here? What about all those tourists? What about Molly's Reach and all these amazing things and teaching people about how the Beachcombers had 19 seasons and the history of the area and what people do for a living out here? Like, how come we can't teach people? We can. We just have to drive tourism right back into the middle of Gibsons. So I can take your commuters to go to work, and I can drive your tourism right back. Every ship can be full, but I need help. So those are all my ideas, and that's where we're sitting right now. And I would love to have any of your input on anything that you can think that can help.
Whoops, thank you. I'll just call you Linda, if that's okay.
That's absolutely fine.
I think you're going to have a few questions here and comments from council. I'll only preface it by saying you're fortunate in that you have in front of you a council that very much wants to see a passenger ferry service. We're well aware there's lots of little things that have to be worked out, hiccups and so on, but certainly the first important element in that is a willing and capable operator. Maybe we have that. We'll see. I'm just going to turn that over to council now for questions and comments.
I'll go.
Hi, Charlene.
Hi. Thank you for coming. Your energy and your passion and your varied background. It's very refreshing. Couple of questions. I have a lot of friends and clients who are commuters. So I guess there's two things for me so far just listening in. And one is curious on how the uptake is going so far with your riders, with the commuters, and how your schedule has changed as you're listening to the needs, and also the best way to follow the schedule as it's changing, the best way to stay in touch with that and help communicate that. But the second question is also around parking for that.
Sure. The best way to follow us is on Facebook at Pacific Ferries, as well as you can tweet to us at Pacific Ferries. I've tweeted with some of your council members, as well as I've answered some questions via Facebook for some of our ridership. We canceled the 3 o'clock run because we had 4 very dedicated people that came on every single run, but $60 doesn't pay the bills. So until we can find parking, which will be the next question I answer, we canceled those runs. The 5:10 run has been really good, and the 6:25 has been pretty spotty. So until we can find moorage on this side and offer a morning run where residents could park in the lower mainland, the lower Gibsons, we kiboshed those other 2 runs. So we're just running a 5:10 right now, which is sustaining. And we've been working with the Coast Guard Co-op and Matt from the Coast Guard Co-op, and we've been shuttling our users to wherever they need to go when they get to this side. And then parking, if you follow us on Facebook, you'll see this lovely map that Manny got me, and he sent me a map of Lower Gibsons and all the free parking and 24-hour parking, 2-hour parking, etc. of where you can park. And we posted that on Facebook, and we said, hey, if you guys do want to take us, here's all the places you can park. Just keep in mind, if you're going for 4 days, not to park in 24-hour parking. Hi, Stafford.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Without seeing your business plan or knowing your financial state, being a small business in Gibsons, irrespective of what you do as its trials and tribulations, you're a small population. I just wondered, I know, it's a funny mindset that people will have, but the initial like, I'm just giving you, this isn't how I think, but the initial would be that, it's not gonna work,
So they told me that.
Yeah, so, setting that idea aside, the second part of it has to be that, okay, um, you know, your commitment level, one, uh, I guess, people are gonna have to see that it's working, and then people will eventually jump on board. I just wondered, like, you have a plan in place, I would imagine that, I mean, like when you reference paying the bills, I'm sure you're gonna pay your bills, irrespective until a certain date. I mean, do you have a trial period, or do you have a time period where you're saying, okay, we're gonna give it a shot for this long, and we're hoping that at this point in time, we're gonna have this many commuters or this much ridership, which will then be able to facilitate like a long-term business.
Any business when starting out, especially if you go to the bank, will tell you that they're not going to give you money in the first 2 years. I'm very familiar with this because this isn't the first business I've started. But understanding that, and understanding that, unlike running a permit company where I had 300 customers across North America, you have a very small community, and we have to hit that niche. We get that. We also understand that if we haven't made it by June, we're in trouble, right? So we're gonna give it till June, till tourism starts to kick off. We're gonna try and work with most of the tourism destinations, BC, Sunshine Coast Tourism, Gibsons tourist visitor information has called us and contacted me and asked us how we can work together, giving away flyers on board to be like, here, go see the museum and see what we can do here. Festivals as well, and working with festivals and seeing like maybe if somebody takes the fast ferry to get there faster, you get $2 off the door. These are all ideas that we're trying to work with. We're even working with Smitty's and working on some sort of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Let's bring them over here and drop them on your front door.
I'm pretty up to date with how things are going since
Yeah, I think Silas is
we've
the
been in
most up
touch.
to date.
We've been in touch about every day, because it's this happens. We passenger ferry service. I guess one question I will ask is, right now, and we hear about.
In order to maintain and to be able to keep staff, if we were to start from Race Rock Marina and go around to Horseshoe Bay in the morning, first of all, there's the fuel and there's docking in the moorage there, and then to run the boat empty here, pick up commuters and drive them back, and compete with BC Ferries, who's doing it for free, is a huge. It would kill us. So the one thing that we need more than anything is moorage. So we've been working with the Gibsons Landing Harbor Authority in regards to moorage. I understand that 6 fishing vessels just moved out, and they've offered us moorage. Now we made a deal with them that we would do whatever we can to make this work without moorage, but it was all verbal. The goal is to get moorage as soon as possible, and they understood that it was get moorage, but March 16th will be just fine. So we're working with them right now to feel like, can you give it to us right now? Because this could help us get morning traffic. And once we start getting traffic in the morning, people know where to park, then they're more eager to use us in the evening because they know they left their cars with us, which is the biggest issue that we're having right now.
Just to summarize that, I think what you're saying is, get moorage, you can have a morning run. You'll leave at 7.
7 o'clock, so we can hit because there's a couple commuters who have said that at 7 o'clock they would get in and then they'd be able to take their commuter van.
Just come up with all that, the harbor.
Did vote on it, and
Yes.
I sat in the meeting, they have
I talked to Jim today, and he said that we have moorage as of March 16th. And then I said, is there any way we could get it any sooner? And he said, yeah, you can have it for March 1st, but the $1,200 we gave them for hop on, hop off traffic would then be forfeited. So when you're running a little business and every dollar counts, it just,
I knew the 15th was
the reason why that was a specific day is because we said that we'll do $600 per month, and it ended up being 6 weeks. So we went from January 27th, which was our first day to run, until March 15th. So,
but your new mortgage is
yeah, so it should be $250 a month.
yes.
But we have to forfeit the $400 that we paid for hop on, hop off traffic. It doesn't go towards our mortgage. So,
Yeah. I don't know if there's vessels.
no, he told me today on the phone that he could do it as of March 1st. But if we did that, we would be forfeiting our money. So, I mean, like, what do? You gotta make money, right?
Can I just suggest that we are having a lot of communications back and forth with operator, and I think it's
Got it.
talking about it. And
Once a month.
So, I think the message that, Ferry is that want to work with, eliminate unnecessary. To let us at least know. Our issues that you're. Whether or not we can deal with them, I don't know. I'd like to take a look to see if.
How long is it?
41 feet.
Okay, well, maybe why don't you talk to me, because I have some.
Okay, so, yes.
I appreciate how wonderful everybody's been, and I keep making this joke that if you come to Gibsons, they'll nice you to death. And I can't believe, like, there was this outpouring of support from the community, and Manny actually called me and said, I hear you're running a passenger ferry, and I thought I was in a whole lot of trouble, and then I found out that I'm not, because usually I'm in trouble when somebody calls me. So I was really happy to hear that, how on board you guys were, and how helpful everybody has been. It's been really great. I wish I could start more and more businesses here. Grow this economy. Let's do it.
All right, thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, any inquiries at this point? Okay. Steph. Oh, sorry, sorry.
I would just like
The microphone there.
I don't need a mic. I would just like to say that I took the passenger ferry, unfortunately on the last day of their free offering, and it was absolutely excellent. And I wish them well.
Linda, just, talking about growing pains, I did speak to a client recently, just expressed a little bit of concern about sort of the facilities on the other side in terms of where they have to wait, I guess, in bad weather. I don't know if there's anything you can actually do about it, but just one of those things that it's something to.
It's a government dock, and they don't even want us to put like a sandwich board up there, because then if I put a sandwich board, and you put a sandwich board, and then everybody starts putting sandwich boards, and then somebody trips over the sandwich board, and it's government's fault. So,
Yeah, actually, that was the other thing that this particular individual had mentioned, was that there wasn't any signage as to where to pick up this vessel. Certainly locals will soon learn that, Tourists will require a little more assistance, I think. These are just things to put in your mind as in terms of
Oh, yes.
hospitality. That's all.
And then I have to figure out how I'm going to do the downtown to Gibsons late night, because bus service ends at 9:30 to Gibsons, or to Horseshoe Bay. So this is the other thing that we're working on.
Councilor on that.
If you also put on your sign that your dog must be on a leash, it won't be a problem.
I've only had one dog on board, and his name was Timbit. And he's now social media famous, and his mom has been tagged in the picture.
Okay, Jenny, there's another lady here with the.
I just have a question, Brandon, so you.
Just ask you to use the microphone.
Sure, I just have a question. So you did cancel the 6:30 ferry, can you give us some kind of indication as to, with the, town of Gibsons looking after you at this end of the, water, when that will come back in place?
Depending on demand, right now we're thinking
The end of March,
Yeah.
okay.
unless I can, with moorage, it makes it a little bit easier, but I can bring the boat over every time, but if it's empty, not gonna make it till June, right?
Yeah, of course,
So, this is the thing.
yeah, but those are the two biggest ferry runs, so I think with time, I mean,
Yeah.
I think Stadford said it the best, that it does take investment
Mhm.
on your part also, for the community to support you and get enough people to actually, because I do applaud what you're doing. I think that it's a fantastic service, but we don't want it to be a service that not very many people can take advantage of.
Exactly.
Thank you for those comments. Okay, just a motion to receive the committee of the holdings, Councilor White, Councilor Sanjanko, all in favor? Carried. 9.1, David. Approach meeting, sir.
Thank you, Miro. I believe council's seen a couple of these come before you very recently. This is a means for a structure to exist, private structure to exist on town road dedication. And we actually do an easement over town land to facilitate largely access or retaining walls or retaining structures for properties. This one's a little bit of both. Is a retaining structure. You can see on page 3 of the report that they need to build a retaining wall roughly along the property line in order to create a fairly level access. And one of the requirements is for council to approve that in principle at this point, and we have a requirement then to post an ad in the paper indicating that council's agreeable to this and public an opportunity to comment. And then there's legal documentation that is prepared at the cost of the applicant. Part of the reason that we've seen a number of these come forward is this is actually a fairly recent change to the Land Title Act to actually raise title on a section of road and put an easement over it. So I think it came into effect a couple of years ago. In the past, we've used what's called encroachment agreements, which run with the person, not the land. And there was some problems with that.
If I understand your report, it was more of a structure contemplated there, but that's not going to be.
That's correct. They had a I don't know if you call it a pergola or a trellis or whatever over top of it, and we're not at a staff level anyway. We're not willing to entertain that.
Yeah, my understanding behind our policy was really to assist residents where there's sort of some access issues into their properties. Exactly. It's not really just sort of start turning over town land for garden shed.
Exactly.
Any other questions on that one? Then I'll just ask for a motion to receive that. Okay, Councilor Lumley, thank you. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thanks, David. Any inquiries at this point? Okay, just one item to receive, correspondence from the city of Purple Equipment. If I read it right, they're just saying they want the federal government to pay 50% and the province to pay 40% sort of grants for infrastructure improvement. I wasn't quite sure if they were trying to say that it was sort of like had some sort of national component, or if it's just 90%, which is probably wishful thinking. But I don't know anything about it either.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't necessarily see it that way. My sense was that they were referencing where we typically pay 30% of the cost, and where the project is of national interest, that portion should increase to 50%. As for the province, where the project is mostly in their interest, that they should pay 40% and not 30.
All right, so national interest type projects, right? I'm thinking. Okay, anyway, just a motion to receive that. Council said. Right, all in favor? That's carried. I'm not ignoring you, Councilor Valeria. Just wave if you need to.
I keep raising my hand at the appropriate time.
Okay. You better make a noise. That's it. Okay, 12.1, first and second reading for the rates, fees, and changes to the bylaw. Councilor Sanjanko, Councilor White, all in favor? Thank you. Councilor reports. Oh, sorry, any inquiries again? Okay. Councilor reports. Councilor Lumley, anything you want to report on?
Well, yeah, I sat in my first meeting with the Gibsons Landing Harbor Authority, and obviously the news of the moorage that they granted, and they were all in favor of granting moorage for the foot passenger ferry, contrary to what might have been circulating out there, that they're not against it. As far as I think some of the challenges were where people got on and off the ferry, and there's also commercial boats that use that same area, and they just want to make sure people are safe. I think they're going to be looking into the future, the actual foot passenger ferry docking where the float planes dock, except that walkway is very slippery, so they're just going to do something to maybe make sure that it's safe for people, as well as they'll be coming to council. I guess they're going ahead with their plans to put another float out there, because the float addition to the harbor, which was another source of revenue, was like, it was busy all the time, and anything that we can do to attract more people coming in on boats, which was the main purpose of the harbor, which was economic development, was accepted around the table. So we're going to keep going ahead with all their plans, and yeah, it was pretty positive meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Sanjanko.
Report in on a few events that most of us were at, but last week we had the TELUS fundraising event for the market downtown. Pamela Goldsmith-Jones Council, which session. A enjoyed our community conversation, and that came out for it last week, and we had a good table. I sit on the board of SOWN, which is the Self-Employed Women's Network, and I'll just quickly say that they are looking for more leadership on their board. I think there's at least one spot available. So if there's anyone that's looking for a board position, I just want to put that out there. They're moving forward. Reminder that tomorrow's chamber meeting is up at Garden Inn, and it's about hiring students this summer. Important meeting. Traveling with Councillor Valeria to Friday, and there's lots going on right now.
Councillor White, do you want to add anything to your report?
It covers, how much, so it's, also at 5 o'clock.
Councillor Valeri, is there anything you want to add?
Some of these, you can hear me okay? Some of these have been mentioned, but I found the local government leadership academy really beneficial. I shouldn't have been surprised about that because there's still lots to learn, but I was pleasantly surprised. I think they improved a lot over last year. TELUS event for the Gibsons public market and our public engagement last Tuesday, I thought were really successful and a productive meeting with the advisory planning commission. So a run of a few good events in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you, and thank you to yourself and Councillor Sanjanko to represent us at the Vancouver Coastal Healthy Communities seminar coming up this week. I understand you'll do a bit of a presentation on our behalf.
Well, I've got 7 slides, one of which is our newest bike lane up school route at 21%. So
Thank you. I think the only thing I just want to mention tonight, just want to pass on our condolences to Joan Beck. Her husband, Arthur Olson, passed away on Saturday. And, send our sympathies to Joan. With that, just ask for a motion to close. We've got a couple of items to consider under section 91. Councillor White, Councillor Sanjanko, all in favor? It's carried. So just recess for about 5 minutes or something.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Sean, you had an inquiry?
Yeah, I was expecting, sorry, I lost track. I thought you still did them briefly after adjournment. I'm just wondering for those. I think I'd be used to these things. For those of us who weren't able to be around earlier today, I was just wondering if you could kind of give us a summary of where you stand after the pre-budget meeting heading into the actual deliberations.
Yeah, actually, today's meeting was really just focused on a review of the quarterly reports from our staff and the work plan that each of the departments has for the coming year. There were no hard numbers of any kind that were dealt with today. This was just sort of project oriented. So we'll, I think the first one coming up in
March 1st?
March 1st is focusing on water. Is that correct? Okay.
Great.
Okay, so 5 minutes.